Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Design Review Committee meeting to order for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. We will begin with roll call.
Good morning. Committee Member Browning? Here. Committee Member Banducci?
Here.
Committee Member Ellsworth?
Here.
And Committee Member Cameron is not with us today.
Thank you. Item B, approval of the minutes. These are from May 28th, 2025. Has the committee had an opportunity to review? And if there are no revisions, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and the committee will vote.
Committee Member Browning?
Aye.
Committee Member Ellsworth?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Banducci?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, public hearings. There are none. Item D, public hearings new. There are none. Oh, excuse me. Wrong page. There is one. Item D.1. Leach multifamily residential development location located at 1822 I Street. This project is in design review DR 25-2, an administrative adjustment. Adjustment ADJ 25-2. The recommendation is to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution finding the project exempt from CEQA and conditionally approving the project. And staff will run us through.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if we've introduced one of our newest assistant planners, Henry Baker. He's going to be presenting to you this morning.
And good morning, members of the committee. My name is Henry Baker. I'm an assistant planner with the City of Eureka, and I'll be presenting the Leach multifamily residential development for your consideration and approval. Here's a bird's eye view of the project location. The property is centrally located within the city at 1822 I Street. Zooming in further, we can see the property itself is located on I Street between Del Norte and 17th Streets. The property is located within the R3 or Residential High zoning district near Eureka High School. It's important to note that the area immediately surrounding the high school to the north, west, and south, but not the east, has been zoned multifamily with single families surrounding it since its creation of the zoning in the 1950s. The property itself is an 8,050 square foot interior lot fronting I Street. The property also has a rear alley access shown here in red. The property has been vacant since 2016 when a fire destroyed a home and 3 accessory structures, and there have been several code cases over the years. Here we are. Here's a recent photo of the property. The applicant is proposing a 2-story, 7-unit multifamily building with common laundry and ground floor storage areas and rear parking area. The project also includes public infrastructure improvements to the sidewalk on I Street and the rear alley seen here. Staff has reviewed the relevant regulations and required permits and found the project requires design review. And a note, design review is limited to evaluating the street-facing aesthetic aspects based on design review criteria, and the committee cannot require changes to features that already comply with mandatory zoning standards. The project also requires an administrative adjustment to deviate from the building entry standard, since not all ground floor units have an entry facing the street, and from the vision clearance area, also known as the VCA standards, because open fencing taller than 36 inches is proposed in the rear alley VCA to secure the proper parking area. Projects requiring multiple discretionary permits must be reviewed and acted upon by the highest review authority. Therefore, in addition to design review, the design review committee will also be the deciding authority for the administrative adjustments. State law imposes limitations on decision-making regarding housing development projects. Per the Housing Accountability Act, a local government may not deny, reduce the density of, or make infeasible housing developments which are consistent with the objective general plan, zoning, and health and safety standards. I've included the definition of objective for reference, and have the full definition available here if at any time we'd like to revisit it. So first we'll discuss the design review findings. There here is a rendering of the building's frontage. To approve the proposed design, the committee must find that the proposed development will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare, or materially injurious to the properties or improvements within the vicinity. And the proposed project complies with all applicable design review criteria in Eureka Municipal Code section 155.412.040J. An analysis of each criteria is included in the staff report. However, I'll briefly run through the objective criteria. The design includes 4 out of 10 architectural features where only 2 are required. Roof form variation on 75% of the facade, shaded green here, where 25% is the minimum standard. Horizontal articulation on 50% of the facade, where 25% is the minimum. Balconies on 25% of the facade, where 20% is the standard. And window trim on 100% of the windows, where 75% is the standard. Now moving on to the administrative adjustments, starting with the building entries. Eureka Municipal Code section 155.312.040 requires that if a building has multiple entries for ground floor units facing the street, their entrances must also face that street. As you can see on the left here, the entries for units A and B are not street facing. However, a development may be exempted from this requirement through an administrative adjustment if the street-facing building wall incorporates more architectural features than required. As shown on the previous slide, there were only 2 required, and the design incorporates 4. And the exemption allows for a clearly superior project. The exemption allows for a clearly superior project to that which could be achieved while complying with the requirement. The analysis in the staff report includes shows that the entrance design is consistent with the character of the neighborhood because the street-facing building entry resembles the other multifamily buildings in the area. Now moving on to the rear alley, Eureka Municipal Code section 155.308.040 requires a 5-foot vision clearance triangle at the intersection of the driveways and the alleys, shown here in red. Per the code, no object over 3 feet may occupy these spaces unless exempted through administrative adjustment, which may be granted if the committee finds the standard is unnecessary for traffic safety. As seen here in green, pardon me a moment, the 6-foot gate and fence in the rear parking area occupies this space, and lowering the height of the gate would not provide security to the rear parking area, and moving the gate would require the developer to remove parking spaces. Staff believes that an administrative adjustment may be granted because the fence is open and cannot be seen through, and the low speeds of traffic in the alley increase the reaction times, and a watch for pedestrian sign will be installed on the interior, alerting drivers to any potential dangers. A complete analysis is included in the staff report. So based on the findings and analysis demonstrated in the staff report, staff believes the proposed development may be approved with conditions. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution finding the project is exempt from CEQA and conditionally approving the application. I have a suggested motion when you're ready, and the applicant and myself and Deputy Director Castellano are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. All right, we're going to open it up to the committee to ask questions of city staff.
Hello. I have none.
Can you clarify the fence on the back? I thought I heard conflicting comments about it. You said
It's an open fence, so it's
an
wrought
open
iron.
face
Yeah.
fence. Okay, I thought I heard that you can't see through it, and I was like, wait, I'm confused. Okay, that's what I thought I reviewed. Okay, understood. Thank you. Chuck, anything from you? Chuck, anything from you? No. Okay.
Nothing so far.
Okay. All right. Let's open it up for the committee to open or ask questions of the applicant or the applicant's agent. If you could, if there are any. Yes. Do we have questions? Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Comments? Yes, no? No. No? Yes? Okay.
I just have one question. Is this a zero lot line development? No. What's your clearance?
Sorry, DJ, can you turn the, and then state your name?
Oh,
for the
my name's
record,
Donald
please.
Cleek. I
Thank you.
am the designer for the building. And to answer your question, no, there's setbacks on all four sides of the building. The closest property lines are the north and south sides, which is a standard 5-foot interior residential lot line setback.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? None? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, I'll open it up to a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak may come forward to the microphone. We ask that you state your name and city of residence. Do they have to do their address? No. And then each speaker will receive 3 minutes of time. So if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, you may come forward now. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Curtis. I live directly across the street from the project. I appreciate the design that has been supplemented. It does fit in well with the neighborhood. However, the pink elephant in the room is parking. Parking is a disaster on I Street, and anytime there is a function at Eureka High, which is all the time, they're just, you leave your spot and you don't have it. You just don't have it. And we can't obviously put cones on I Street. No one's going to let us do that. Right now, without that project, you go to the grocery store and you don't have a parking slot when you get back. I'm on the right-hand side of the street going north. And sometimes the only place to park is a block away. Coming from Costco, that's not an option. So what you end up doing is putting your flashes on and parking in the bike lane, which is very hazardous. And if you know I Street, you know that multiple times a day, there are cars that are going 50 to 60 miles an hour down there just to kind of rev up their engines and have fun with themselves. And they end up slamming their brakes on 14th. And that's one of the areas where we have multiple accidents every year. My question, I guess, for the developer would be, how many parking spaces are there going to be?
You want to pull up the site plan? Oh, we can answer. Yeah, we could do that.
The challenge
Sure.
is there's 7 units, and I don't know of any of the apartment buildings around that there's only 1 car per unit. That just doesn't happen. Everybody's working. We have multiple people living in apartments, and they have multiple cars. The unit next to me has just 2 units, and yet there's 4 cars and a boat that take up space on the alley and in front of the house. So, 7, 8 parking spots for a 7-unit is just not going to be taking all the cars. And so they're going to load on to the front of I Street, and there's just going to be more problems with parking. And so it's a real issue. And I just don't know if parking could be increased. That would be fantastic. I don't know. It's just going to become a mess, and it's a mess already. So that's my 2 cents on it, and I hope something can be done.
Thank you. Okay, you got the parking count? Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so
on
there's
that.
7 units proposed and 8 proposed parking spaces, and only 1 is required per unit. So they are exceeding the requirement.
By 1 space. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Hi, my name is Corey Dare. I live right to the north of the project. And I have a whole bunch of concerns. Parking is one of them, and the other one is the back alley. I don't think it can handle more traffic particularly. It's in the winter, it's mud holes and big potholes as is, and 7 to 14 more cars, I think would be a disaster back there. The other concern, mainly some of my concerns are kind of personal because I live to the north, and if a 2-story building with dormers is built there, I will have no light, and I will have people looking directly down into my yard. And it just seems like aesthetically the building doesn't fit the piece of property. It's just huge, it's too massive. And that was one of my concerns is, and it would take away all of my light as well as the surrounding areas. The neighborhood right now is nice. Almost everybody owns the property. It's quiet, and having a 7-unit building there is going to change the neighborhood completely. Completely. It will turn into craziness, and I think personally feel like I would feel insecure with people looking down into my yard from a 2-story building. I've lived there since '93, and it's always been a pretty decent neighborhood, and right now it's really nice. And to bring in an apartment building that big is ridiculous. I can see a duplex or a triplex or something like that in there, and that would be fine. But it's just... the other thing that concerns me is the property value of all the surrounding areas. I think a big building like that is going to really drop the property value of all the people who own homes in the area surrounding it. There's, let's see, I have more concerns. Well, the parking, yes, and the alley, property value, aesthetics. Anyway, any questions on what I've had to say? I don't quite know what else to say about it. Anyway, a lot of it is personal. Thank you.
Thank you. We have anyone else from the audience who wish to speak? I have to. Hi.
Good morning. My
You
name
can
is
raise it up.
Josh.
Oh, I know. I got the power. All right. Here you go.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Oakes. I live directly behind the proposed site on 8th Street. And I do have some written comments here. So this project raises multiple concerns from scale and design to privacy, safety, and the long-term impact on the neighborhood. First, it simply doesn't fit. The neighborhood is mostly single-family homes or small-scale multi-unit buildings. This project proposes a dense 2-story complex on a relatively small lot, which represents a major intensification of use. That's not compatible with surrounding homes or community identity. Second, the design relies on administrative adjustments that bypass important zoning protections that allowing units without street-facing entries and a tall fence in a vision clearance area. These rules exist for safety and cohesion. Approving exceptions like this creates a slippery slope for future development. Privacy is also a major issue. Second-story balconies and windows will directly overlook neighboring homes and yards, permanently disrupting the comfort and privacy that residents have long enjoyed. It's not theoretical, it changes how people live in their own spaces. Parking is another issue. With only 8 spaces for 7 units, a potentially 11 bedrooms overflow is guaranteed. This will push congestion onto I Street and increase traffic in the alley, affecting visibility, safety, and livability. On top of that, there's no plan for long-term site management, no live-in oversight, no assurance of property maintenance. We've already seen code violations on this property before. Why would that improve with more density and less accountability? And perhaps the most important is the real risk of property values. Buyers and appraisers notice when privacy disappears, when streets get crowded, and when zoning feels unpredictable. That affects home equity and community stability, especially for those who have lived there for decades. This development may add housing, but does so at the cost of this neighborhood and shouldn't be asked to pay. I urge you to deny this proposal and ask for a more appropriately scaled, thoughtfully designed project that respects the neighborhood and those who already live in it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have anyone else in the audience today? Go down a little bit. Good morning. Hi.
Hi there, I'm
Hi.
Donna Roberts. I live in Eureka. So congratulations on fitting 7 units in. I don't know how you did that. So my concern also is high density. It changes the neighborhood. I did meet a neighbor 2 weeks ago when we were having the canceled meeting, and he was also concerned about the traffic in particular. High density, lots of traffic. So my other concern is the alley. I have property on an unpaved alley, and that creates a lot of dust, a lot of potholes. And so what is this project? Is it the whole alley gonna be paved, do you know?
That's a question for staff. Depends on how much time she wants to use.
I believe the alley is going to be paved from the property to the street to the south. So not the entire alley.
So just their property to the street, which is great, which is a good start, but that doesn't address the rest of the dust that's going to be created, the potholes that the trash trucks probably go through too. So in my experience, because I live on an alley with that, that's a problem, and that whole alley should be addressed if you're going to be putting that many cars, which was going to be definitely 14 cars a day kind of a thing. So that's 2 of my concerns.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience wish to speak today? Okay, we have anybody on the call? Is that just staff? Just staff on the call?
Just staff on Zoom.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Okay. We heard a lot of comments and questions that city staff was able to address. Want to bring it back to the committee for further discussion on the project.
Kent, go ahead. Will we be allowed any further comments on this at another date? This is it, right?
This is it, yeah. So the public hearing, we usually open it, give everybody their opportunity, and then once it's closed, then the committee discusses the project, kind of reviews the comments that we've received, and then we review the application again and then address it.
Okay.
Either
Can I reiterate a few things? Just one thing about the alley, just what you said, because the alley would be a tremendous issue. I know I commented on it as well. And it does have a lot of potholes, and more traffic on it would be just a disaster.
Okay. Thank
There's
you.
potholes, and in the winter, they all fill up with mud. And then they get worse because the garbage trucks use it as well too.
Right.
So it would seem like something would need to be done about the alley, because the cars are going to go both directions probably if in a 7-unit building.
Okay.
And again, I think 2 stories would be daunting to me. Looking in my yard.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do want to clarify that the decision of the design review committee is appealable to the planning commission, and then the decision of the planning commission is appealable to the city council. Also, as a reminder, This is not a use permit or anything. It is strictly a design review for the street facing facade. A lot of the concerns are very valid, but the project does comply with the mandatory development standards except for the 2 admin adjustments. As far as, density, this is a residential high, that's the R3, the highest density residential neighborhood in the city. I did look at some historic zoning maps. There is about a block around the high school, and this falls in that area, block and a half, that was multifamily for a long time. So there are some also big, beautiful houses that were converted to multifamily. So there is multifamily around there. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that.
So the design review's agenda today is to evaluate the street-facing facade and to address the 2 administrative items.
Correct.
Specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also do want to, sorry, I should have pointed this out earlier. The 2040 general plan, there was an environmental impact report done, and the new general plan does accommodate, I think it's like 1,800 new dwelling units or something that this would fall under. So there is sufficient city services to service the lot. Also, as far as parking, I believe in the EIR, it did find that there was going to be a significant impact with the full build out of the general plan, but there was overriding considerations to accommodate more housing.
Right. I think it would be helpful if we could put the slide up again with the criteria to help guide us this morning.
Could I add a little bit of comment on the administrative adjustments too, why we're seeing
Can we
for the exercise we went through?
can we do the applicant?
It's up to you, Chair.
Okay.
Woman.
Yes. DJ, you can come forward.
Okay, so this particular design, we initially designed it as one common street-facing entry with all of the entrances inside the common hallway. However, we realized there was an opportunity to move 2 of those units to have a more convenient exterior entrance for themselves, so they didn't have to go through 2 doorways. So we could easily move those entrances into the hallway, and that administrative adjustment would no longer be necessary. When it comes to the fencing in the alley, every project that we design, we try to design it as if we were living there, we would want it to be a place where we felt safe living. I want to point out that my first apartment back in 1998 was on J Street in Eureka on a similarly developed parcel. And in the 3 months I lived there, my car was broken into twice. So I have a 20-year-old daughter right now that's getting ready to transfer from College of the Redwoods to Cal Poly Humboldt. We currently live in Fortuna. She is terrified she's going to have to make that commute every day because she's not going to be able to find a unit where she feels safe living. This would be a development where I would feel safe with her living there. So those were all considerations. Again, we could eliminate the fence and eliminate the need for that administrative adjustment as well. But again, I feel it would weaken the project. So as proposed, we felt it was worthwhile to seek the administrative adjustments to have these features incorporated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'm sorry, we actually, let's see, I think we only had these 2, right? We didn't put all 7 design review criteria, Henry, so I'll pull that up.
These are the
That's in the
objective
staff
standards for the building facade. There are 10 architectural features that can be incorporated. We've lost the slide.
Oh, hold on, I think she was asking for, you wanted the design criteria, right? The like fits in with the neighborhood and.
Well, if our task before us today is very specific, and if we're not allowed to make comments or changes about parking or access or any of the things that are the concerns that that you addressed as being valid, I just want to give our committee some guidance here today, because this is obviously a project that has an impact on a neighborhood, and so I just want to be mindful of what our tasks are as a committee and making sure that we're staying within our purview.
Yeah, so here's the first part at the top, right, where it talks about where the design review is limited. And that comes straight out of the zoning code, that language, this language right here.
Thank you.
The design review criteria are included in the staff report, which I brought a copy if you'd like to
Yeah.
discuss.
Pull them up too.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, please.
Has this project gone through the planning commission?
It doesn't require going to the planning commission.
Because the reason I ask that is that we're hamstrung to address the concerns of the neighbors. So their only recourse is to appeal it to the planning commission. And regardless of the vote from our group here today, the outcome will probably necessitate a planning commission appeal. Is there a possibility that the city could waive the charges of that appeal so that these people could present their case to the planning commission without having the charges necessary to do that?
The city council would need to pre-authorize that. So, to be fair, it would have to be for all appeals then for design review committee decisions. So that would be something that you would have to bring up and ask them to do later. We can't just guarantee it right now. Like, for example, the city has waived appeals for coastal development permits, but that is a blanket for everyone that wants to appeal one. So they would have to do something similar. The city council would have to give authorization for that for everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion?
Were you guys going to bring up criteria for us?
Yeah. If we could put that slide back up. Yeah. Thank you.
This is the specific design review criteria right here. I'll zoom in the surrounding context. Do you want me to read them out loud, or do you want to read them? Okay. Just let me know when I should scroll down.
And the staff report does give us guidance.
Yeah.
Oops, I lost my page. Are there questions from the committee about the guidelines or how it applies to this project?
I have visited this site. I've driven the alley. I've walked it. I'm pretty familiar with the site itself, and I can understand the neighbors' concerns. I'm also torn because the project itself is good looking. It will work visually and architecturally with the rest of the community. But it's a little bit too much of a development, in my opinion, for that neighborhood. But that's not our purview here today. I can't make that a criteria for my decision on this vote. So this is why I can see this moving forward to the Planning Commission.
Can we look at surrounding context?
Like the language of the or from, or do you want to look at a map?
Can you make that larger and take a
Oh,
look?
yes.
Can we look at it again, please?
You good, Gailey? I agree with Chuck. I walked the neighborhood. I was checking things out just over the weekend. Really trying to get a feel for the project, the neighborhood itself. And I did notice, there is a lot more multifamily housing around there than I originally thought. but this is challenging for all the reasons you stated. But architecturally, yes, it does, have the character of the neighborhood. But I hear the concerns of the neighbors as well. Can we pull up the slide again? Sorry, of the administrative, the administrative adjustments. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Oh, there, I can do them, wait, right here and right here, or here's the two together.
That works. Thank you.
And so then if you wanted to look at those, here is for the adjustment, this is the entrance facing the street, and then here are two not facing the street, the A and B. And then there is the vision clearance area, having the wrought iron fence in the vision clearance area. So you see these triangles. So typically the fence would have to jog out and around that triangle. So instead it's just going right through it. But it's open, so
it's just the triangle. It's not the height of the fence that's an issue.
Well, no objects over 36 inches are supposed to be in the triangles. So technically, even on the edge of the triangles. So
in the triangle specifically, okay, because
Yeah.
there's fences. There's 6-foot fences in alleys all over Eureka.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and we do have some non-conforming site feature upgrade requirements to try to address that throughout the city, especially for commercial buildings and on more intense thoroughfares. So new developments, obviously, we try to get them to follow it. And then single-family homes, though, a lot of them that have that, street corners, those are exempted from non-con site feature upgrades most of the time. So you do see a lot of legacy fencing in these areas.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee?
So I do. And I agree with everything Cassidy and Chuck have said, but under surrounding context, the final sentence says all buildings must minimize adverse impacts on neighboring properties when possible. And I don't see that this particular project complies.
Yeah, applicants can come back up and respond to that.
I believe for this particular parcel, the zoning actually allows 3-story development and higher density with far more units. We explored several other design options before bringing this one forward. We were also sensitive to the sun orientation of the neighboring parcels, making sure that we had low eave lines down both the north and south sides to minimize the amount of projection of shadow onto the neighbor's lot. So principally permitted, this building could have been a whole story taller, which would have cast a much bigger shadow. It could have had less parking. It could have had more units, which all would have made their concerns worse. And all of that is principally permitted. So we do feel like we were very sensitive, and we threw several other designs in the trash before bringing this one forward. So, I hope that's worth some consideration.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So if the committee is focused on street-facing facade and the administrative adjustments, need to focus on that. And then the staff recommends the resolution as I outlined at the beginning of our session here. Is there any further discussion on the agenda today? Okay. Do we have a motion?
It's the wrong motion.
What awning?
Yeah, oops.
Apologize for that.
Let's Yeah, it's on the staff report, but
On
I
the
can
staff
pull
report,
it up.
it says the Design Review Committee adopt a resolution finding the project exempt from CEQA and conditionally approving the Leach multifamily residential development at 1822 I Street. Is what that reads.
There's the resolution up there as well.
Okay. No motion? We fail to have a motion?
Per the Permit Streamlining Act, we need you to act. So it doesn't need to be this motion, but you need to make a decision.
Okay. Is there a motion on the table? Okay. I move the Design Review Committee adopt a resolution finding the project exempt from CEQA and conditionally approving the Leach multifamily residential development at 1822 I Street. Do we have a second?
You can second it without voting for it.
Correct. Yeah. You can second it without voting for it.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and the committee will vote. Or we have to vote.
Committee Member Browning,
No.
Committee Member Ellsworth,
No.
Chairwoman Banducci.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Okay. So next steps.
Yeah. So the next steps is there's a 10-day appeal period.
So that means in our bylaws that a failed motion means a no vote. So you voted against the project. Can we state on the record
Why?
what grounds that it was? Because for quasi judicial decisions, we need findings explaining how our decision is linked to the standard of review. So if you could just take a moment to explain link the denial to the standard of review.
I'd be happy to do that. Under surrounding context, it says all buildings must minimize adverse impacts on neighboring properties when possible.
I concur with Gailey on that. And further, I think that this project is good design-wise from the front. I think if this was a fourplex or a 5 even, it would fly through this operation no problem. But I think this is too much for the size of this parcel.
I agree.
Although that is not our purview to deal with.
That's right. Thank you. It's going to take longer, cost more, waste everybody's time.
Okay.
You voted. We can move on.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next step, well, I guess I started saying the next step is there's a 10-day appeal process and then you'll.
We have to.
Correct.
All right. We'll do it.
Okay. Thank you. Item E, old business, there is none. Item F, new business, there is none. Item G, pre-application review, there's also none. That takes us to item H, director's reports and communications. H.1 is a reminder to respond to admin by email if you can or cannot attend to a meeting, or know ahead of time if you will not be able to attend a future meeting.
Yeah, I
Just
think
said
what's
like-
happening
okay.
is that maybe sometimes people are telling me at the meeting that I won't be there and then I'm not remembering. And so I apologize. And Raylene sends out the email. So if you could just really try to respond to her email or send her an email directly because she keeps track of the attendance.
I was out of the country without email
Yeah. No.
capabilities.
Yeah. So the next time, I guess if we know, instead of verbally telling me, if you could just send us an email like, I am out of the country for this.
Without email capabilities.
Right, before you leave, if you could email us, that would be great. Thank you. And then I do have one more update. We got an application for another design review committee member, Bruce Severson. He's been on the Historic Preservation Commission for a long time. So he applied to be on the design review committee, and the council is set to appoint him at the next council meeting. So we should have a full committee here soon.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Anything else from staff
I think that's it.
under other reports and communications? Okay. All right. Item J, oral communications. This section of the meeting provides committee members and the public an opportunity to address the design review committee on any subject not appearing on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the design review committee cannot act on any item that does not appear on the agenda. I'll open it up to the committee first, and then I'll open it up to public comment. Okay. Anything further from the committee?
I have none.
No. Okay. Anything from the public?
I did want to ask one more thing, and that is, obviously, they're going to be appealing the decision and stuff like that. What is the appeal process, and who do we have to contact? You know, I mean, if it gets turned around again and we need to appeal again, what's the process?
Yeah, I'll let city staff address that.
Yeah, so there'll be another noticed public hearing at the Planning Commission if they appeal. So there'll be, public hearing notice sign on the property like there was before. Mailers will go out to all owners within 300 feet of the property. Then there'll be a hearing at the Planning Commission. The decision of the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council. Now, I do want to point out that there's the Housing Accountability Act. So the state does have some really strict rules and regulations now that when a project meets objective design standards, that a jurisdiction cannot deny it. So the state will get involved and their attorneys. So this has happened in another apartment complex in the city of Eureka. So
Where is that complex?
it's off of Boone Street. So they're, full transparency is that generally, we're needed housing in the state, and this area is zoned for residential high. So, and if it meets the mandatory development standards, even if you go through the entire appeal process, there's probably no legal standing to stop it because it's housing. So I'm just being fully transparent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow.
Okay. Anyone else today from the public? Okay. Seeing none. That takes us to item K, which is adjourning our meeting. Thank you all for your participation today. Appreciate it.